Hey there, welcome to Becoming More Me, the podcast for busy-minded entrepreneurs that want to be more and do less. These episodes are here to inspire you to become more of the person you feel called to be in this world and to let it be easy. I'm your host, Teresa Lear-Levine. I'm an EFT master practitioner, hypnotherapist, and international best-selling author of Becoming More Me, Tapping into Success, Subconscious Secrets of an ADHD Entrepreneurial Mom. Helping you get out of your own way, shed light on your shadows, be more and do less, and call your power so that you can make the never-ending journey of becoming one you truly enjoy getting present for is my jam. Today, we're going to dive into the world of manifestation. I've got some incredible stories to share about transforming dreams into tangible realities and the personal journey of revisiting and refreshing my own vision statements. It's all about unlocking the infinite potential within, aligning with it, and recognizing when we're out of alignment too. In addition to two beautiful stories of manifestations that have happened for me in the last week, I've also got one great example of a misaligned manifestation I created as well. So, embracing the shifts that beckon us to grow and evolve, let's get ready to explore the power of manifesting your deepest desires. It all starts now. Ooh, I've got some stories today. Some manifestation stories. And, it's really interesting. So I interviewed my friend and the host of Dream Your Life Now, and also master manifester, I must say, Julia Martin, a couple of months ago at this point. And the day that we finished that recording, I started rereading Mike Dooley's book, Infinite Possibilities. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. It's kind of like Manifestation 101. But I also feel like it's a necessary reminder that I had not given myself in a number of years since I read it the first time. So I was really grateful for that reminder and that spark. I mean, as soon as we started talking about it on the podcast, I had this feeling like I need to start rereading that right now. It was strong. I went out for a walk. I think that day I made it through 4 or 5 chapters. That's hours and hours, by the way. It was an audiobook. And I just finally finished it actually this morning. So I was reading 7 other books at the same time. So it was getting a little airtime, but I was actually really savoring it because I knew what was coming. I've read it before. And also I was enjoying re-implementing things, refreshing things. And it also coincided with a time for me when I was feeling like my own visualizations, my feelings connected to wishes being fulfilled, my affirmations or afformations needed updating, which is a great feeling to have considering that, at time of recording, we're in the beginning of March and I just did my visualizations and affirmations and things in late December. So normally it's once a quarter, and having this urge and realizing that so many of those things have already been brought into physical reality, need updating, maybe even feel kind of old and stale because there's these new things that are coming into my consciousness. It's great. Anytime that I find myself needing to update these earlier than expected, it's fantastic. And also, I get really resistant to it. I don't know how many of you do written vision statements or purpose statements or write out the things that you want to visualize or speak them out or create vision boards or whatever it is that you like to do as your manifestation practices. But when I get to the place, and I'm in it right now, I haven't finished redoing them, and it's been a few weeks since I knew I needed to. So it's I'm sitting in this really unusual space, and it's not good. I don't like to label things good or bad, but it's not as good as it is when I have fresh, amazing things that I'm listening to every day that actually speak to my goals, my desires, my wishes, my manifestation possibilities. And so it is definitely my intention to get this finalized this week. And because what happens is I find myself waking up And I always do some kind of hypnotic audio or meditation. And then I listen to this audio that I've created for myself. Now it's an audio from back in December. And I align still with probably like 85% of it. But the 15% or so that either feels old and stale, or it's already manifested, or it just could be like way better because of shifts that have happened, it doesn't feel as good. So it doesn't raise my vibration as much. It doesn't hold the energy I want it to as much. And it's not as powerful as it could be. And I kind of get into this weird, like, in between space. But I can really observe and dismantle what's going on there better than ever because of how many beliefs I have kind of dissolved and reframed and recreated. And, I think it kind of comes down to like the Marianne Williamson quote that our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And that really is the feeling that I can, it's like this energetic, if I'm trying to hold the feeling, it's like I can feel it pushing and I can feel it pulling. It's weird. If you're watching the podcast on the video, you can see I'm like, I can feel that feeling like in between my hands, and it has an energy to it. And that's the place I get kind of stuck in when I am not speaking to the highest version of myself, and I'm not putting myself in the energy and vibration of the things that I really want most in my life. And I don't love it. And yet I resist the creation of the new, highest, next version of me that I want to call in. And I think there is some amount of fear there and resistance and unknown and uncertainty, where it's like, oh, I've gotten kind of comfortable here in the last couple of months. It was uncomfortable at first, but now it's this comfortable, familiar place where I am that person. And oh, to step into another version of me? Yeah, I do. I will be resisting my own expansion if I don't. And we all know that that is way more painful than just taking that next step. So that's what I'm in the middle of doing. And I just wanted to put that out there in case anybody else comes up against that. Like, I personally feel like people who make like a once a year vision board probably are missing out on a lot, because so much changes in such a short period of time when you're actually focused on your manifestations and on the feeling of the wish fulfilled and all of the things that essentially Mike Dooley talks about in Infinite Possibilities, and you're putting those things to work. So one of the things that he talks about is really kind of claiming when you have manifested something and owning that, and not just acting like it was dumb luck or, who knows why it happened or coincidence or whatever, but really understanding, hey, I wanted this. I called it into existence. Here it is. Because when we do that, it invites more of the same to happen. And the same works with negative things. I caught myself last week in a really like not pretty cycle of, feeling underappreciated and then becoming underappreciated. And this happens. This happens. I've seen it happen to my husband at work. I've seen it happen to friends in their businesses. I see it happen in family situations. And last week, I created it happening between my husband and I. He was away for the week traveling, and I got a little thorn in my side about things. And my thoughts became the thing of me thinking I was underappreciated. I wasn't. It was me hanging out in my head because we weren't hanging out in real life, and none of it's really real anyway. But, it's just really interesting. So I think that having fresh manifestations, visualizations, things that you want to call in that you can put your focus on is important, because otherwise they get dull, they get stale, and all of a sudden our focus is on things that don't serve us and that lower our vibe and bring us down, which is exactly what happened to me last week. So it was like another little kick in the butt, like, get this thing refreshed, Teresa. Like, you've got bigger, better, more wonderful things to be focused on. And you want that energy, because that energy feels amazing. Hey, is this episode feeling kind of juicy to you? Is it tugging on something that feels like it needs you to go deeper with it? If so, I want you to grab your phone, head over to Instagram, and DM me the word reclaim. I am currently looking for just a few entrepreneurs who really want to experience the next level in their business, in their relationships, in their sex life, without hustle and struggle. So if the energetic component of this episode, if talking about manifesting, if really wanting to align with that energy and call things into your physical reality is tugging at you, grab your phone, text me reclaim, and get more info about how I can help you with the new version of the Becoming More Me signature program. And I tell you what, once we get to chatting over there, mention that you heard about this on episode 146. And should you choose to join me in one of the Becoming More Me programs, I will give you a 15% off discount. Go on. You know, if you're feeling called to do it, the time is now. Talk to you soon. And the thing is, you just have no idea how good you're going to be doing, how good you could be doing. And everything that you're feeling right now is creating and feeding into that. And our present interpretation is sometimes based on a misinterpretation. So we really have to clean things up and get to know what our thoughts are, what we're saying to ourselves, and what we're putting out there. So I've put some things out there recently that have actually had delightful effects, and I wanted to share a couple of stories about that with you today. And one of them has to do with this necklace that I'm wearing around my neck. And I will, when I edit this, make sure that there's a picture of it up close so that you can see it. But we had a couple of deaths in my mom's family in the last 6 months. My beloved Aunt Margie passed away in September of 2023. And then my Uncle Chuck passed away in January of 2024. And so it's been a difficult time adjusting to all of these differences. My mom's one of 6 kids, all who are very grown up at this point. And the oldest, my Aunt Jeannie, who I talk about quite often and love sharing clips of her on social media because she still goes sledding and dancing, and she is a little prankster, and she's so much fun, and she's totally got her memory and all of her wit about her. She's 91, and then we have my mom's younger brother, the only one that's younger than my mom, who is in his early 70s. So there's quite a gap between the oldest and the youngest. And, we lost 2 that were in the upper middle. So that's been interesting. And these are the first aunts and uncles that I have lost and been close to. And I was thinking about it. I know, my Aunt Margie, they cleaned out her house, and everybody's kind of going through things for a few months after she passed. And a couple of people kind of asked me, like, is there anything you want me to look for or anything that you want? And I'm like, I don't know. I just, I would know it if it spoke to me. I knew that I wanted something to remember her by. She was the one who was in charge of my grandmother's estate. My grandmother died after my grandfather. So when my grandmother passed and people were getting things, I actually got the ring that I wear almost all the time on my right hand, and it's her wedding band. And I actually, when I got married, I needed a gold band for our wedding ceremony, and my grandmother, who was still alive and still wore this, allowed me to use her wedding band. And her and my grandfather were married for, I believe, 72 years before he passed. And I wore it on my wedding day, and then I gave it back to her. And when she passed, I was just so touched and delighted when I was bestowed that, and I totally cherish it. And so when I was thinking about what would be meaningful from Aunt Margie, I wasn't sure. And we went up to Pennsylvania, which is where a lot of my mom's family lives, last weekend for A birthday celebration. It was one of Aunt Margie's son's birthdays, had a surprise party for his 60th, and one of my other cousins came, who was the daughter of my uncle who passed away. One of his four daughters was there, and she's an amazing jeweler and artist. She's just incredibly creative and brilliant. And while we were at the party, she took out a couple little satchels of things and started telling me about this project that she was doing to commemorate, Aunt Margie and give us all something wonderful to remember her by. And she took out this, she showed me some pictures, and she said, Aunt Margie had this bracelet. Do you remember it? It had a big blue topaz on it. And I was like, yeah, I remember her wearing that. And apparently it had 10 links and the topaz. And that was exactly how many female nieces, nephews, daughters, that kind of thing were in her family. So my cousin disassembled the bracelet and made each of us a necklace. And then she had us choose the charm that went on it. Now, my Aunt Margie was very like spiritual and loved going to church. And so my cousin had collected all of these different charms that were mostly like saints and Virgin Mary, Lady of Fatima, that kind of thing. Now, I'm not really religious, and that's not how I would have like probably gone about it, but because it's her, like I love it. And I picked one where it's really kind of hard to see that it's Our Lady of Fatima inside of it because she's covered in this like green glass, and then there's like silver and gold around it. But this link right above here, and again, I'll put a picture close up. This was from the bracelet. So my cousin made us each these beautiful necklaces where we got to kind of choose something that called to us and have a piece of the bracelet. And she put it on a chain and she sent it to me in a beautiful package. And I was just so touched. And I was thinking, like, what a beautiful project to work on, just period. And also, like, she's working on it while she's grieving the loss of her father and just really uniting all of us women in the family in sisterhood, cousinhood, niecehood. And it was so beautiful. It really like brought tears to my eyes, and it feels like something I just love and I'm going to enjoy wearing so much. So that felt very manifested because I was like, I know I want something beautiful to remember my aunt by. And then it just came in this beautiful creative gift through my cousin, and I was so delighted. And so that was one thing that happened recently. I have also manifested some amazing clients in the last week who are just so aligned. I always say I love working with people who have kind of like bizarre problems, like not the run of the mill stuff that like feels kind of like easy to help with, but like things that are a little bit tricky and sticky. And I've got some really good kind of like, I feel like I'm a detective, and I love working with those kind of cases and being able to help transform things for people who don't feel like they've been able to create the change they want with other programs or modalities or ways of doing things. So that feels like such a blessing. And also it's me following my highest excitement. And so I definitely claim that, that has been manifested through other actions that I've been taking over the last few weeks that have caused that to align in that way. So that felt really good too. And then this is a really cool story too. So we went out last weekend and it was just me and Jeff and our two younger boys, Jordan and Jace. And we had gone to lunch and we were going to run errands. We needed a new frying pan, needed some pants for my youngest son. I was looking for pretty much any and every new part of a wardrobe because, hey, spring is here and I love to refresh the wardrobe. So we were in all sorts of places and we ate lunch and we pulled into a shopping center to go look for a frying pan. And the shopping center had a Home Sense, a Home Goods, and a Marshalls in it. And I was like, we can definitely find a frying pan here to replace the little one that we had. No problem. So we pull into the parking lot and it's a little after 2:00. And my youngest son, who very much like me loves the repeating numbers and notices them, looks at the clock and kind of gleefully says, hey, it's 2:22, make a wish. And that's always, whenever there's a repeating number, that's me. Like, hey, 111, make a wish, 1111, make a wish. I have a habit of texting my husband the repeating number, usually surrounded by like stars and hearts and things. And that's all, that's the message. And, he'll acknowledge it or say it back or whatever. And it just kind of like, it's connective. It's fun. It feels a little bit magical. I am always amazed at how often my eyes land on those repeating numbers. And I don't really recall seeing other times on the clock nearly as much as the repeats. So that's just kind of one of my things. And Jordan definitely shares it with me. So he calls out the 2:22 and we all pause and we make a wish. And his wishes are always so cute because it's always just kind of like whatever he's already doing or whatever he's already loving. Like, let's just have an amazing day. And I hope I find some cool pants and we're going to find a great frying pan and have an awesome day together and, love and all that kind of stuff. And it's always so sweet. So he announces that. And then he says, Mommy, you were born at 5:55, right? And he didn't say it that way. He said, you got born at 5:55 because, 7-year-olds say things a little differently, but it's cuter than the way I say it. And I said, yeah, I was born at 5:55. And he's like, was it in the morning or was it in the evening? I said, it's 5:55 in the evening. Like, that's so cool. So you get to make a wish every time, right when you were born. And how neat is that? And that's really like where it started for me, I think, is being born at a repeating time, because whenever it would be 5:55 around dinner time, my mom and I would acknowledge the time. And that was a special time for her because that's exactly when she gave birth to me, and a special time for me because it's when I got born. So, that was the original time. And then my affinity towards all the other repeating numbers came more recently. So we're talking about that. And then we went into the first store. They didn't have one that we liked. Went to the second store. And then they didn't have one that we liked either. Third store, we finally found one. So we were waiting in line. And if you've ever been into any of those stores, like the Marshalls and the Home Goods and all that, like they walk you through all sorts of extra stuff as you're walking out, all those little impulse buys. Normally a bag of like Jordan almonds will jump out at me to buy it, or some gummy something that the kids want or whatever. But we're walking through the line and it was a long line, and I actually went and did some shopping while my husband waited in it. But then as he got closer up to the front of the line, I rejoined him in the line. So I wasn't really waiting there looking at things for very long. It was very brief. But as I was standing there, I turned and Jordan was playing with a dog toy or something. And I look down and I see this. See that? It's probably backwards because, video. But it says 5:55 right on it. And it's like colors that I love. And if you're just listening, like I'm holding up this framed piece of artwork. But it says 5:55 and it says change. And then it has this kind of swirly in the middle that I'm drawn to. But then here at the bottom is what it says, as I am reframing my own manifestations, visualizations, and calling more things into my life. It says this: it's time. How fun to watch your dreams morph so magically into opportunity, abundance, and advancement. And I just picked that thing up and I thought to myself, I can't leave this here. Literally just minutes ago, we're in the car talking about 5:55. That's not a coincidence. And minutes later, we're in this checkout line, and I had to look around because I was thinking, well, maybe there's one for 2:22 and one for 4:44 and one for 11:11. No, there was only one for 5:55 down the bottom, not in my immediate line of eyesight or anything else, just happened to catch my eye. And in that split second, getting called to register whatever it was to check out, I just picked it up and I was like, there's no way I'm not getting this. And I bought it and I'm going to put it up in my office. And it just felt really aligned. It felt like, okay, when we get certain signs and certain things happen, we have to claim them, right? And I was like, I'll claim that. Claim that as mine. That is my 5:55 very aligned piece of artwork for my office. I didn't go out looking for it or shopping for it, but it definitely found me. So I will claim that manifestation also as being very aligned with what I'm calling into my life right now. And I just wanted to record this episode to share some of those littler things and some of the bigger things. Getting aligned clients in my business always feels like a big thing. It's transformational for their life, for my life. It's a big deal. But also like these little things, like finding a really cool picture that's totally aligned, or receiving an heirloom piece of jewelry that is just perfect, that you never could have dreamed up on your own, and having it basically just, fall into my lap. Going to that party, I was given the choice of exactly what I wanted in the necklace. And then my cousin had it in my mailbox like 3 days later. She went home, she put it together for me, she mailed it to me, and there it was. Like, how sweet is that? So beautiful, so perfectly aligned. So I tell you these stories because, well, they're cool stories, and also because I hope that they inspire you to be in awareness about the things that are happening around you. Be in awareness of your thoughts and what you're calling into your life. Because as I started to say at the beginning, I was calling in a feeling of being underappreciated just last week. I did it. It was me. It's usually me. But I also called into existence this necklace that I will forever remember my amazing aunt by. I also called into existence the aligned artwork. I also called into existence these new client relationships and countless other things in these just mere recent weeks. So just remember, what we focus on, we create more of. And it can be tempting sometimes to focus on lack and scarcity concepts, but they are no more real than the concepts of abundance and joy and inner peace and fulfillment. So I know which one I'd rather focus on as far as what I want to happen when I focus on it. And sometimes it takes a little bit of effort to get yourself back in that vibration when you're in a funk. I know it did for me. It took me almost the entire weekend, the better part of the weekend. My husband came home on Friday, and I don't think we got it right until Sunday. But, I can recognize, I can observe, I can dismantle what's been going on, and I can reconstruct. And when you do that in awareness and consciousness and with accountability for your part in all of it, beautiful things get to unfold. So I appreciate you listening. I always do. And I would love to hear if for any of you, after listening to this, maybe something really aligned happened for you, or you had an aha moment, or something seemed to just magically manifest in your life. And if so, hit me up on social media at Teresa Lear Levine on Instagram. Send me a DM. I would absolutely love to hear about it. And I wish you a beautiful journey and experience with whatever it is that you're calling into your physical reality, and whatever it is that you're manifesting into this beautiful, precious life of yours. Thanks for spending some of your precious time with me today. If you loved this episode, please leave a review or simply share it with someone else who would get great benefit from it too. If you share on social media, please tag me so I can personally connect and thank you. Until next time, keep taking bold and brave steps towards becoming more of who you want to be in this world. You are capable, you are worthy, and you are enough. And if your inner critic is still trying to argue with those facts, hit me up. We've got work to do.